did was we started with a sheet of paper that just has a square on it that says this has, 13,000 square feet worth of stuff, and that's what the program has. Again, it's divided in 3 columns, but what we wanted to emphasize here, which they clearly understood, is that it's not 3 distinct spaces, but all blended together. It's just coming from different funding sources. We had some parameters on our square just to get us started, so we said, okay, this is where some traffic will be, this is where you will park, so this is sort of the front face of the library. That there would be a road off on that side, or at least a conduit where you might be able to drop off a book and go to the drive-through window service. So that would be not on the parking, but adjacent to it, potentially going and dropping off a book, going to any window service, coming around and parking and going into a library. So there is a flow to it from the exterior. Again, we don't exactly know what the shape is or how the parking works, but that would be the concept of it that would be applied to what the actual plan is. You would have 2 sides of the building that are adjacent to the rest of the overall building. There would be an idea of a main entrance, just one main entrance, which would be the entry to the campus, and it would be the entry to the one-stop. It would be the entry to the library, and it would be the entry to the multi-purpose room. So you have this sort of mixing area where you would be able to clearly identify the spaces that you want to go to. So these entries would be very apparent. Walk through the door, here's the public entry for the library. There would also be windows along this area, so whether you're coming from the school or whether you're coming from the public, there's a lot of windows on both of these sides, so you see where the library is. You're oriented before you get to the building. If you're in the school or if you're in the multi-purpose room, you want to go to the library, it's not hard. What we try to emphasize is have the architecture do this first, and the signage just supports it. If you only depend on signage, somebody's going to get lost. So keep it open, make sure that people get in. Then there would be a lobby area that would have some of the library services like the self-checkout, some of the display areas, the electronic board that tells you what some of the activities are going on, whether that's in the school or just in the library specifically, the printer, copier, fax. So all of these areas would be kind of close to the front door. We've talked about mobile workstations for the staff. So right now what we have programmed is 2 staff stations that can move around the library. Generally speaking, there might be one area close to this front area to help anybody at the self-checkouts or anyone that's coming to the library for the first time and wants to get a library card. So there would be somebody in close proximity to be able to service those customers.
But you won't see a circulation desk.
But it won't be a circulation desk. And this person can move if they feel like it. If this isn't the right place for them to be for whatever period of time, if some other activity is going on, then they can move and support other areas of the library. And in that way, I think you can cover more ground and give better service to your customers with less staff is really what it's about. So you might have some seating area right by the front window that people would be able to see that there's activity into the library. We talked about a fireplace. And that maybe it's a 2-sided fireplace so that you might be sitting on one side, or there might be tabled seating on one side or lounge seating on the other side. The computer stations would be in close proximity. And when we say computer stations, this would be sort of a fixed area. We anticipate that anyone could take a laptop to anywhere in the library and use it, but there might be a designated area that is for computers, and whether there's a laptop sitting on that already or what, that operationally can be worked out a little bit later.
But it's laptops.
But it's laptops. The Audiovisual Collection would be very close to the front door, again, thinking that this is a popular item that the public would want to come in and browse. There might be a media lounge right there and some listening stations in that area. Also, what was interesting about what we did today is where do we put the reader seating? So there are some seats that have tables that you might be able to spread out a table, whether it's a 4-person or a 2-person. And instead of like a traditional reading room where you line them all up in a row and it's very quiet in one area, the idea with this library is that they would be where we think the people are going to be. So there's one area that might be near the Audiovisual Collection. There's one that might be near the fireplace. So they're actually spread out all through the library so that you have seating areas all over. You can't go very far without finding a good seating area to service your needs. Idea of teen services maybe being adjacent to the Audiovisual Collection, that we've talked about the collaborative learning bar. I think we have 2 collaborative learning seating areas. The idea of this is really that there's the technology there so that you can get together in a group and you have a screen that's already there and you have a hub where everyone can plug their laptops in and you can view different laptops on the screen, and in that way the students can orient themselves and organize themselves, and they don't have to lift their laptop up and show it around. So the idea is that there might be one that's right by the teen area. The teen area will also have a group study area just for them. And then some 4-person seatings would be there. Let's see, what else did I want to tell you? Oh, there would be a secondary entry for the students. So the idea is that there's an adjacency to the rest of the academic programs. We've talked about having transitional spaces like group study spaces that might be connected to dirty classrooms, et cetera, so that there's a real blending of these spaces. And right now we're jokingly calling it a secret entry that might be through one of these group study rooms where the students might be able to enter the library without having to go all the way around the meeting room or whatever else there is to go through the public entry, but that they can have one adjacent to their academic spaces. The children is the pink area all the way in the corner. The idea with that is that they would have their own space and that they would not be disruptive to some of the academic study going on. There would be family restrooms nearby and some tabled seating. And the staff workspace would be close to the children's and close to those restrooms so that they can monitor that space more closely. It's also located on the wall that would be to the exterior so that the book drop would, the bin for the book drop is actually in the staff work area where they would be sorting those books. The window would be past that, and the idea is that you would be able to see the window across the library so that if there is no staff nearby, they would have a line of sight to that window. And again, we talked about some technological ways where it could be linked to the mobile station so that a staff member would know if somebody drives up there. The last thing I think I'll mention is some of the group study rooms. There's a concept that maybe some of the group study rooms could be up against, that front wall. So you can not only see people in lounge spaces and near a fireplace, but also that you really present what this library is about, that it's about studying, it's about learning, and that a group study room is sort of on display, I guess, for the public as they drive up. And then there's another concept that if this is a multi-story building, which Fred has said that this is potentially a 3-story building in some areas, if not all areas, that the library, which is primarily, we're looking at it as a 1-level space, I think given the amount of staff, it sort of needs to be all on 1 level, but that maybe some group study rooms or some other programs from the academic spaces could be aligned and overlook the library. So in that way, and these are our group study rooms, that we can stack them up, and in that way you have a connection from the academic study into the library and vice versa, and again bringing on that synergy of what's going on in the school and what's going on in the library, what the public can see and what the students can see of the public. And the idea with the adult services, what we've done is typically if we have a lot of volumes of books in the library, your standard library, when you walk in, you'll see something like 6 or 7 shelves high, and they would be above my head at least, above most people's head. What we're saying here is that we would bring it down to 5 shelves, which would be about my height, basically, so that you would actually be able to look across and over them, and it doesn't become a wall or a barrier. So there is a little bit of buffering, but you can pretty much see clear across this library. Also makes it easier for the staff because when they're trying to keep track of people, you try to play that trick where you orient all the aisles so that the staff can see down the aisles. But if the shelves are lower, then it's very easy to see what everyone's doing around the library, and it just helps them understand where they need to be